left off. At that point, we had set up the company, created the company, we had set up the chart of accounts, we had put the beginning balances in, and we can go to reports and forms to general ledger, look at the general ledger trial balance, and we want this, we can go into options, and we want this to be as of March 31st. Okay, and we have our heading up here, and we have all of our accounts. There's all the proper balances. Notice our purchase discounts has a credit balance because we had put the minus sign in there. That our debits equal our credits, and we are good to go forward. Hopefully, you still have your sheet, your Word document showing the information, and so I will just read it out and we will go forward. We need to set up two inventory items, and so we're going to go into inventory and services module, and up on the top there's an inventory items, and we click on that and we click on new inventory item. We have two of them. There's an indoor marble waterfall and an outdoor granite waterfall. The item ID is just our own name for it. You can give it a number or a nickname if you will. I'm just going to call it indoor. And then in description, indoor marble waterfall. Okay, it wants to know the classification, and there's a number of different classifications. A stock item is a product that would be in stock on a shelf or whatever. And we have various other common things, such as service. If this is a service that we do, maybe we prepare tax returns, and the service part of it, we want to put in a description that says Form 1040 for individual income tax or whatever. We can set that service up. We can set it up as so many dollars per hour. If we were an auto repair and we want to set it up at $60 an hour for labor, whatever, we can set that service up. At least we would have that. Labor would be similar. This is where an employee of ours works somewhere, and maybe we pay the employee $20 an hour, but we charge $60 an hour to the client. And so this is another way to also put that in. Description only is another common one, where you can just put in just the description. So at least if you're selling that particular thing, you can click on it and it'll bring up the description. So you won't have to type the description on every invoice. It'll come up once you have this set up. Now in our case, these are both of our items are stock items. So we're going to put that in there. Now it wants to know what is the description that you want to show up for sales. When you sell this and it's going to go on an invoice or a receipt, how do you want it worded? And you can word it however you want, of course. We're going to put in indoor marble waterfall. Okay? Then also you put in the down arrow and click for purchases. This is the description that you want to show up when you actually are putting in a purchase invoice or a bill because you're buying this thing. If you have a description typed in here, it'll automatically pop up and you won't have to keep typing this stuff. And so again, indoor marble waterfall. there are, if I click on this arrow next to price level, you can see that there are 10 different price levels. So I might have some customers that buy a lot from us, and I automatically give them 10% off whatever the price is listed in our catalog, on our website, whatever. That customer gets 10% off. So I could set up price level 1 as the regular price, and then price level 2, I can set up a calculation to say, take 10% off of whatever price level 1 is. Then when I set up that customer, I can say, for this customer, always use price level 2. And I have abilities to have 10 different price levels set up. Now, in this case, we only have 2 customers. They're both wholesale customers. And then we have a cash sale that's also to a wholesaler. So they're all paying the same price. And so all we need is price level 1. I don't really need this. Okay? So all I got to do is set up what is the price, as far as we know it right now, that we charge when we sell this indoor marble waterfall. And it says on your Word document sheet that is $22,000. Okay, the last unit cost, we have one it costs us $12,000 normally for the indoor marble waterfall, and so if you didn't put this in, that's okay. When you go to do an invoice, you'll just have to put it in at that time, okay? But we can put it in now, okay? And then it'll bring it up on our invoice. We can change it if all of a sudden it cost us, the next time we buy these from the vendor, if it suddenly costs us $12,100, well, we can change it. But this is just like setting up the last known cost. And if you don't know, you can just leave it blank. Okay? The cost method, okay, of calculating. With QuickBooks, there was only the one option of average cost. Many retailers and wholesalers use either FIFO or LIFO. And so here in Sage 50, they give you easily the choice, and so you can choose whichever one you want. We can just leave this at FIFO, that's all right, okay? The UPC is the barcode. If there's a barcode and we know what that number is, we can stick it in there. The item type, we would have to set them up if we want to set up different types of items, and then we could put that in ourselves. The location is like, what aisle is it on? You know, if somebody calls and says, do you have any size 10 of that red sweater? And we could say, yes, we have 3 left, and they're on aisle 10. You know, so that's what location means. The stocking, U/M, that means unit of measure. So does this, and we don't have any set up, but do these things come in a package, as a pair, as a set, or each one is separate on a pallet? You know, how are they packaged? And the weight, if we have the weight of this marble waterfall is already set in here, then we would have the ability to estimate to somebody, you know, easily how much it would cost if we FedEx this thing to them. All right, up here on the right, the GL sales account. It wants to know what account are we going to credit when we sell this thing. Okay, we only have one sales account, so that'll be sales. Okay, here the GL inventory account. When we purchase this thing, what account are we going to debit? Okay, if this was a periodic inventory system, we would be debiting purchases. However, this is a perpetual inventory system. We're going to keep track of each and every item, and so we debit inventory when we purchase the inventory. The cost of sales account, if it's a perpetual inventory system like what we have, then every time we sell something, we're going to debit cost of goods sold and credit inventory for our original cost of it. Okay, and so our cost of goods sold account is account 5,000. This item tax type means whenever I sell this thing, is this a taxable thing? Now, if we were selling these waterfalls to the public, then we would have to set up sales tax. And yes, this would use a code of 1. Okay, a 1 is regular, meaning it's taxable. And then number 2 is exempt, meaning it's not taxable. Okay, and we only sell to wholesalers here at Grand Prairie Granite, so we don't have to ever worry about sales tax. So I'm going to double click on the 2, and now it knows that there shouldn't be any tax. Okay, here it shows the quantity on hand, the quantity available, and the minimum stock that we want to keep of these. And then this says the quantity on sales orders, meaning how many people have ordered how many of these. The quantity on purchase orders, how many have we ordered from our vendors, and the reorder quantity. So when I get down to my minimum stock, how many do I want to automatically reorder? Here's the preferred vendor. Which vendor do I want to order it from? Okay, and we don't have any of that in yet. Okay, we'll put in beginning balances here shortly. Okay, there is a beginning balance button. Okay, we'll take a look at that in a minute. The custom fields, you can set these up yourself. Okay, the history, you can see during the previous months, how many units we sold of this item, and the sales dollars, how many units we received that we purchased, and how much it cost us. Okay, there are 2 other tabs on here, bill of materials and item attributes. These 2 are for if we actually build the waterfalls ourselves, and the bill of materials is a listing of how much lumber do we need, how much plastic do we need, how much of this, that, and the other thing do we need to build this waterfall. And so since we're not building anything, that we don't need those, and they're grayed out, and you can't get into those for a retailer or wholesaler. Okay, so I am going back here to the General tab, and I'm going to wait on putting in the beginning balance. I can put that in at the same time as I put in the other waterfall, so I'm going to leave that be for right now, but you could go in there and put in just this one and then separately just the other one, but I'm going to put them in together and save myself a couple keystrokes. Okay, so I'm going to say save and new, and the other one is an outdoor is my ID, and then my description is the full name, Outdoor Granite Waterfall, and that is a stock item. And for my description, I want Outdoor Granite Waterfall. And for purchases, Outdoor Granite Waterfall. Okay, my price level 1 for these outdoor granite waterfalls is $10,000. Now, the last time I purchased an outdoor one, it cost me $4,000. Okay, I'll leave it at FIFO. I don't need the stuff on the bottom for right now. Our sales account is sales. Our inventory account is inventory. And our cost of sales is cost of goods sold. And we wanted to have this be exempt from sales tax as well. We don't need anything in the custom or the history right now. So now that I have these done, I can click on save. Okay, so now I've got both of these items saved. I can go click into beginning balances. And I want to choose which item ID that I'm going to put at beginning balances. So I choose the indoor. And I want to say how many of these do I have. So I have one. The unit cost was 12,000. And so it multiplies 1 times 12,000. Okay, then I'm going to use the outdoor, and I have one of those, and that was 4,000. Okay, and I can say okay. No, I'm not okay. Let me go back in there. I'm sorry. The indoor, our inventory items have to equal what we had on our trial balance that we put in as beginning balances for inventory. And so this indoor, I'm going to say that the last known cost was 10,000. Okay. So I'm going to change that last known cost. Okay, and so that the two of my things together, the 10,000 plus the 4,000 equals the 14,000 that I initially put in beginning balances on the chart of accounts for inventory. Okay, so now I'm going to say save and close. Okay, we now have to set up 2 vendors. And so I'm going to go into vendors and purchases, and this top one is vendors, new vendor. And I have 2 vendors. One's called Angel Marble Works and one's called Granite Manufacturing. So this first one, I'm just going to use Angel as the ID, and I'll put in their full name, Angel Marble Works. Okay. Now, one thing you have to put on here is the expense account, which is the account when we purchase something from Angel Marble Works. What is the default account? We can change it when we get to that point, but what is the default account that you want us to debit? We know if you buy something on account from Angel Marble Works, we're going to credit accounts payable. We want to know what to debit, okay? And so we buy inventory from Angel Marble Works, so we're going to debit inventory. Okay, the rest of this is address and contact number. A vendor type, you can set up different types of vendors. If you have different types of vendors, you can set that up however your company wants to do. A 1099 is required. We have to give a 1099 by January 31st to any independent contractor who was an individual, not a corporation, and who did more than $600 of services to us. So if we have any vendors like that, then we would want to list them as an independent contractor, and then Peachtree will keep track of it, and next January when we give them a 1099, it'll be good to go. We'll have all their information. Okay, in this case, Angel Marble Works is a corporation, and we don't purchase services from them. We purchase products. So we don't need a 1099 for them. We'll just leave it on none. There's some phone numbers and other things here. At the bottom are some customizable fields. Here's additional types of addresses, sometimes shipping addresses and headquarter addresses, and the address that we receive the bill from is all different addresses, and we can put all of those in. Here is the history, and here's where we're going to put in a beginning balance. And here's purchase info, and here's where we're going to put the default, if there is a default for terms. Okay, now right now their default is that it's net due in 30 days, and that's their default. We said on our Word document that the default that we want for our vendors is 2% 10 net 30. So we're going to click on customize terms for this vendor. We do want it due in a number of days. We do want it due in 30 days, so we can leave that correct. We're going to click on use of discounts. The discount is going to be in 10 days. If we pay this off in 10 days, we'll get a discount, and the discount percent is 2. Okay? And so that is all good, and I can hit save. And then I can go back to history and go ahead and go into vendor beginning balances. And Angel Marble Works doesn't have any beginning balance, so I didn't really need this for them. So I can just close out of that, and I can go ahead and say new. Okay, now my other vendor is Granite Manufacturing, so I'm going to call them Granite, and then I'll put in their full name. Okay, the expense account we want to use is not actually an expense account, but what they mean is what do we want to debit, okay, and we want to debit inventory when we buy stuff from Granite Manufacturing, okay, and we can go into purchase info, and again, we can customize the terms, click on use discounts, we can put that in as 10 days, and we can put in 2%, and we can say save, and we'll go back to history, and vendor beginning balances. The invoice number was 2345, and the date of that invoice was March 15th. And we don't have a purchase order number, so you can leave that blank. And the amount of that was 10,000. And they want to know what accounts payable account do we want to use for this particular invoice. We might have several different payable accounts. In this case, of course, we only have one accounts payable, so we click on that, and then we say save and close. Okay, and now here again, we can say save and close. Okay, so we now have our 2 vendors in. Now we're going to set up our customers. Okay. Okay, if you first go into customers and sales and you don't see this top row, you can go into customer management and then go back into customers and sales tab, and you should see this. And our first one is customers and sales, and we want new customer. Okay, I have 2 customers, Grace Enterprises and Cornell Inc. Grace is the ID, and I'll put in the full name. Okay. You can set up a customer, different types of customers, whether they're like retail customers or wholesale customers or whatever. in this case, all our customers are the same, so we don't really need to set up different types. Okay, down at the bottom there's customizable fields. The next tab over, we have different contacts for this customer that we can set up. Here's the history and our customer beginning balances. For Grace, we do have a beginning balance. We'll put that in a minute. The sales info tab, they need to know, there's an asterisk there, they need to know what sales account, when this customer buys something from us, which sales account do you want? Some companies have lots of different sales accounts. Sales of this type of thing, sales of that type of thing, sales from Department 1, sales from Department 2, etc. So we can stipulate which one. Now here we only have one sales account, so that's it. Okay? We don't need to put in any of this other. Here's the payment and credit. Now the default terms that are already in there is net 30 days, and that's our default terms for our customers. So we don't have to change anything here, but just like with the vendors, I can customize the terms and change them. You can also set up new defaults. Now this default is net 30. If I want all my customers, rather than changing each and individual customer, I have 1,000 customers, I can go into one place and say, make all my customers into 210 net 30. And then I can just change just the few that I want to have something else. Okay, in this case, the default that already comes with Sage 50 is fine with us. We don't need to change the default, and we don't need to change it for just this customer. So now I'm going to go back into history. I need to save this customer, and then I go into customer beginning balance. Okay, in this case, that is invoice 5678, and that is from March 20th. There's no purchase order number, and the amount that they owe us is $4,000. Okay, and the AR, or accounts receivable account, that we're going to use, again, we might have different ones, but here we only have one accounts receivable account. Okay, so we're good to go. We can say save and close and save and close. Okay, we now have our customers set up. Oh, I didn't set up Cornell yet. Let me do that. Sorry. Okay, so I go back into new customers. Okay, this one is Cornell. L Inc. Okay, I don't need anything here or here. Cornell doesn't owe us anything. They don't have any beginning balance, so I don't need that. I do still need to put this sales, that when Cornell buys something from us, we want to credit the sales account. Okay, and their payment terms are correct, so I don't need that either. Okay, so I can say save and close. Now my customers are done. Okay, so I've set up the two inventory items, I set up the two vendors, and I've set up the two customers along with any beginning balances. Now we would like to take a look and make sure that things look right. So I'm going to go into accounts receivable, into the customer ledger, and that shows that Cornell has no balance and Grace has a balance of $4,000. And I can go also into the accounts payable reports, down into vendor ledgers. And here, Angel Marble Works doesn't owe us anything. Granite Manufacturing owes us $10,000. Okay, very good. And so this ends part 2 of the video. In part 3, we will actually put in the transactions and get our final reports.